Well, welcome everybody back to the Figure Kit Garage, fellow resin heads and kit builders. Brent Krug back with Millicent Patrick Work in Progress Part 5. When last we met, we had just finished the painting of the blouse and the dress and had a few touch-ups that I had to do along the edges of the coat where the shirt and the coat meet. And I did that off camera, and I went back in and I darkened down that whole area and enhanced the shadows a little bit. And I like the way she looks even better now. What I used to darken along the coat edge and in the main shadows that I had airbrushed was Pan Pastel's Phthalo Blue Extra Dark. I ordered a series of 10 extra dark shades from Amazon. And the phthalo blue that I used turned out to be the perfect choice. It blended in really well with the dark blue that I'd airbrushed onto the shirt, and it blended everything in together really, really nicely. So I'm very happy with how her shirt turned out. The highlights, all the shadows, everything blends in very, very well together. I also want to thank everybody for tuning in to this series the way that you have. Gotten a lot of wonderful comments from it. And if anybody out there has been watching this series having any kind of doubts or wondering how well the skin tone technique that I've been sharing with you will pay off, I brought out 6 examples of using this technique to great effect, and they're examples that I'm very proud of. I have done a few more, but these are the only 6 that I could fit on the table next to me. So I'm going to bring out where this technique all started from, and this is the Charles bust from Gilman Productions. So sculpted by Jeff Yeager with a base done by Mark Van Tine. I'm going to bring him in closer so you can see where this technique started from, and you can see his skin. It's very patchy, with a lot of redness to it in various tones all the way through, even in the face and in the hands. But this skin tone technique was born with this character trying to replicate the age makeup that they used on Patrick Stewart in the film Logan. The age spots, I used women's makeup, and I have to thank John Fitchie from Vinceville Customs for giving me a few pointers on using that technique, and it helped me out a lot. But Charles turned out really, really well. Very proud of how he looks, and that's where this technique started. Using washes of various colors to enhance the look of the skin is one of the biggest keys to getting this right. And I will say this: if you start using this technique and you don't get it the first time, it's only paint. I got lucky enough to hit this when I did, and it's worked for me ever since. And the second piece that I use this technique on, and you don't have to use normal human looking skin as with this technique. The second piece that I did this on excuse me, was kind of a Hail Mary, and I was hoping it was going to work. This is the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin bust sculpted by Paul Lee. And it's hard to tell in the camera. It may be a little bit washed out with the lights, but there are 7 different shades of green in his skin that are so blended well together that it's hard to tell, but it looks completely natural. And I was really unsure of how well this is going to pay off until I actually got the initial base layer of purple on his hood. And as soon as I had him all masked off with silly putty, and imagine trying to keep silly putty on those ears. You want to talk about a damn headache, that was it. Once I got the silly putty peeled away off of his forehead and that skin shone through, I was damn near doing cartwheels off the wall. I was so happy. This skin technique worked out so well with him. I couldn't have done any better if I'd tried. So that's one example of, I've done 3 different characters in green. I need to start trying other colors. The next piece, try to sit him down. The next piece that I used this technique on was the Tom Hardy Venom. And this was a lot of back and forth, which is what this technique is. It's a lot of blending, a lot of back and forth, trying to hit the right look for the skin. This one turned out way better than I could have ever imagined. At first, I didn't think it was going to work, and I kept blending it back and blending it back. And when I finally hit the skin tone I was looking for, I stopped, and I'm so happy with this, it's crazy. It's probably one of the 2 best human skin tones I've done with this technique to date. And like I said, it takes a little patience and a lot of practice to get it right. On bigger pieces, it takes even more time because you have a lot more area to deal with. And this is a prime example. This is the 1/3 scale Logan bust. George Stevenson was kind enough to acquire this. God, this was back in 2017 when I got this. And altogether total, I think I have roughly about 9 hours worth of work in his skin alone. For a while, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off, and when it finally started meshing together, as his skin tone got lighter and lighter, it started looking more and more human and more real. So, another example of how well this skin tone will pay off if you're patient. And that's all it is. It's a lot of patience and just a lot of back and forth. With all skin tones, it's not ever one shot and you're done. You're going to have to work at it to get it to look right. And there's no argument. That's just all there is to it. The one I am the most proud of, this was kind of personal because this was the character that I knew growing up. A lot of folks grew up with the George Reeves Superman. And for me, there can be only one. This is the Christopher Reeve tribute, sculpted by Jeff Yeager. And I put roughly about 7 hours of work into his skin alone. I'm exceptionally proud of this, above all others, by the way he turned out. And it's another example of just being persistent and getting it to look right. As with Millicent Patrick, her skin was not a one-shot deal. Although it may have looked it, it was a lot of back and forth. So, being persistent and sticking with it and not giving up on it, it will pay off in the end. And when you finally get it right, the results are absolutely fantastic. And then the last example of how well the color green will work for skin tone. This is the She-Hulk from VX Labs. I just completed this before I started the Millicent Patrick. And there's about 8 different shades of green in her skin alone. But there you can see a little bit of color difference all the way through her skin. It's a lot of variation. But I chose to use all these different colors that I did, and they're different brand names of paint. But she came out really gorgeous. So if you have any doubts as to whether or not you can learn this skin tone technique and apply it to your kits, think again. Because if you stick with it, it'll pay off. So now that show and tell is over, the focus of this episode is going to be focusing on the nameplate, the fossilized hand, and painting Millicent's eyes. And we're going to start off with the nameplate, and I've already primered it up in Stynylrez brown primer, and I went in late last night and hit it with Garage Kits US semi-transparent bone white. Now, the reason why I painted those letters bone white is because I am going to airbrush the Millicent Patrick in, I'm going to try and get it in a 3-tone gradient blue, but if I have to go with a 2-tone blue, I'll just go with a 2. And the creature I'm going to go with 2, and then the Black Lagoon I'm going to go with 2. And I'll be using different brands and colors of paint to achieve that look. So I am going to need one of these wonderful popsicle sticks I have over here. Get you a whole bunch of these, you'll be glad you did. Looks like I lost the end of my double-sided sticky tape. Oh, there it is. So if I do not get this uploaded tonight, I'm going to finish it off on Monday. Virginia and I are driving up to Victorville tomorrow, early in the morning, and we'll be there until Monday morning. So if I have to finish up this video on Monday when we get back, then I'll do it that way. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to angle the camera down just a little bit. Make it a little bit easier for you guys to see this. And I'm going to start off with Garage Kits US Pale Blue. Yes, I need my glasses. No comments from the peanut gallery out there. I haven't used this blue tone in a while, so I had to put it on the Vortex mixer to get it mixed up the right way. And the spout clogged up on me. There we go. And like I said, if you make a mistake with the technique, it's only paint. If you have to start over, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Let me bring this back in a little bit. They're not supposed to fall off the popsicle stick, thank you. This is a very, very pale blue. That dry. Get my airbrush out. And once I get this video done, if I can do another one next week, I'm going to definitely try. If not, I won't be able to do one again until probably after the 8th of October. Virginia and I will be flying out to the state of Virginia for her dad's memorial. So we'll be focused on getting ready for that next week. I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and the thing does not want to stick to that popsicle stick at all. That's the pale blue. Very nice, very light color. God, maybe I should have used Gorilla Tape to stick that on there. Double-sided sticky tape does not want to cooperate at all. So my next color that I'm going to use is Army Painter Ionic Blue, and this is what I use for the highlight on her blouse. And I'm going to use that to color down towards the bottom of her name. Because when I'm done with this, I want her name and the Creature from the Black Lagoon title to pop right off of that. So I'm going to use a few drops of thinner on this. I don't add a whole lot of thinner because a lot of this is already formulated for airbrush use, but I just can't be too careful. Again, I apologize for the noise from the compressor. And we'll go in and start right about kind of hard to see because it goes on very lightly. A little bit of tip dry. That ought to do it. Might have thinned it down a little bit too much, but you can see where the colors are actually starting to separate a little bit. The pale blue and then the ionic blue. It's spraying all right. Thin it down just a little bit too much. I'll go back in with a pale blue and hit across the tops of the letters, and it'll look a lot better. Damn. I guess I'll just have to hold on to it with my hands. right, that's the ionic blue. I'll go back in with the pale blue a little bit and just spray it at a really oblique angle to hit just the tops of the letters. Just a quick shake up. Go. I'll come back in. Now you can see two different colors. This looks really nice once that pale blue dries. Come out really well. So now my final color is going to be Army Painter Sapphire Gem, and I'm going to aim that down towards the bottom of her name. Whether or not I can pull this off with the way the creature and From the Black Lagoon is done, that'll be another test altogether. But I like the way that looks. Has a nice transition to it. Put this on my vortex mixer real fast. Run with a little bit of distilled water through this. Started running distilled water through my airbrush instead of regular tap water because we have a lot of hard water out here in California, and seemed like distilled water went through the airbrush a lot better. Now for the bottom. Maybe one drop of thinner in that might work. swear these paints do not like me. Try that again. We have a very beautifully airbrushed name, Millicent Patrick. It's going to stand out quite well. Army Painter paints haven't given me that kind of a problem before, so that's kind of a pain in the butt. I like the way that looks. It actually stands out really nicely. Looks really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal that off after I clean my airbrush out, and we will come back and we will begin painting the creature and Black Lagoon and the title logo. Be right back. Alright, we are back. I have that all sealed off. Now I have this masked off. I don't want to get any green paint on the name Millicent Patrick that we just finished. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a color called Gravestone Gray from Garage Kits US. And I'm going to airbrush it on the name, on the upper part of the name Creature. This is more of a greenish gray tone than gray. Give the effect that I'm looking for. You guys can see that. Now we have the creature painted in a greenish gray tone. Let that sit for a few minutes. So I should put all my brushes back in their holders. And while I'm doing this, I also want to thank those folks who have subscribed recently. It means a lot. Always has. stuff does not want to come out easily, does it? There we go. Quick rinse through, and we should be good. Try and keep the rest of the nameplate from getting any darker color paint on it, so I've masked off the words "from the Black Lagoon." I'm just going to focus on the word "creature." I'm going to use another Army Painter paint called Green Skin. Nice medium green color that I used on She-Hulk, and it worked out really well on her, and you saw that. So turn the camera just a little bit. I might have bumped it, I'm not sure. A lot of frozen paint up in that lid. I didn't want to come off. I won't have to use very much of this. Have to go in really lightly. And I just lost the lid to my distilled water. Great. Or is that just something else? There it is. I kept my reducer. I was about to show you before I knocked my cap off. See the nice contrast between the gravestone gray and the green skin. I'm going to go back in and hit it one more time. And now the word creature has been rendered in 2 different shades of green. Really nice contrast. When that dries, it's going to look fantastic. This is the look that I'm going for. And that's going to look really good. So we'll let that dry. Hobby knife here, real quick. Let that dry, we'll seal that off, we'll come back and we'll hit the words Black Lagoon. Alright, we're back. Now I'm going to go in with a color called Jungle Green. It's Army Painter, and I'm going to do the upper part of the words Black Lagoon. Paint the whole thing. This is, I think I over-thinned this by accident. That'll make it work. Turns out to be a very nice bright green. Okay, so we have the words Black Lagoon in a nice bright green tone. And I'm going to come in with this color, which is the, make sure I get this right. This is the Createx Tim Gore's Bloodlines Vile Green. This is a very, very dark color, which I will definitely use as light as I possibly can towards the bottoms of the letters Black Lagoon. That's the reason why I paint all the lettering white, because I wanted these letters to pop with all the colors I knew I was going to use. So for those of you just starting out, if you have a name plaque like this and you want the letters to pop, try to base coat your lettering in white, and it'll help your colors pop, especially if you lay them on really lightly. That white helps the color stand through a lot. Sure I got this thin reduced correctly. Yep. And now we go in with the Vile Green. And since this goes on semi-transparent because it's an illustration paint, it's probably going to take more than one pass to get this right. don't want it to puddle up in any way, shape, or form. Slowly but surely getting there. Probably one more pass. Yeah, definitely on the word on the BLA in black. Definitely needs a little bit more. Could be a lot darker. That's a nice transition. There we go. So now the other words, oops, sorry, Black Lagoon. We'll peel this tape off. And this is the look that I'm going for. I like how that's going to stand out. I may go back over that one more time with that jungle green up towards the top. Very, very lightly. real quick, very lightly. I got a little bit more even dispersal of the color. It's pretty damn good. Should be good. So we have a nice set of transition letters. Nice and legible. So what I've got in store next is oops, that could have been a mess. What I'm going to do next is I am going to seal this off I'm going to put about 3 good coats of Krylon matte lacquer on this. And what I intend to do is I intend to use a product that military modelers, car modelers, aircraft modelers have been using for years. And I am going to paint over everything that I just did, but not before I apply this wonderful little product called Vallejo Chipping Medium. And this stuff replicates chipped paint on almost any surface. Well, I'm going to use that to protect all the lettering that I just did, and I'm going to go in and start airbrushing my browns for the wood sign. And then when all is said and done, when I've got it where I want it, I'm going to go back in and chip all that paint off those letters so we can see that beautiful title that you just saw me paint. So we will be right back. I'm going to seal this, give this a couple coats, seal it off real well, and then get this chipping medium brushed on, and we'll proceed with the nameplate. Stick around. Alright, we're back. More fun with the Millicent Patrick nameplate. And Right now I'm in the process of shaking up my Green Step World Foxhide Brown paint, which is going to be the base coat for the wood on the sign. It's a really nice orange brown tone that I'll be doing washes over. The reason why I applied the chipping medium is because I don't want to risk ruining the paint that I've already laid down, and this is water based, so I'm gonna try like hell not to spray directly on top of the letters if I can help it, but if I do, I'll have a way of getting that paint off after the paint dries. And that's nice and dry, and all it's going to do is form a protective barrier between the paint that I've laid down and the paint that I'm about to put down, and it will just take water to remove it. I'm very thankful that this stuff is water based, because if not, I'd be in a lot of trouble right now. So reducer in my airbrush here real quick. And my bottle's jammed up. Not for long. Sometimes the Green Stuff World paint bottles tend to build up down inside the pour spout. I'm not sure entirely why. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of faith into that chipping medium. Come on now. Mix that up in the paint cup a little bit better. Dry this down. It's the type of red-brown tone that this foxhide brown is. Kind of nice, rich orange brown. Like foxhide, I guess you could call it, or fox fur, fox hair. So one thing I love about Green Stuff World's paints is they come up with really unique color tones that I'd never seen before until I bought them, and God, I'm glad I did. Right. I don't think I have to do another layer of that. That dry, and what I'm going to do next, I can't even seal it off, unfortunately, so I'm taking an awfully big risk doing this, but I'm going to go in with a wash of Army Painter Rawhide Brown. I'm going to tone that down a little bit on the sides and on the main part of it. I'm going to thin that stuff down really, really hard. And just be awfully careful that I don't wind up lifting my paint. That's why I'm going to let this sit for the next few minutes before we continue, and then we'll come back and we'll put that wash on. We'll be right back. Alright, we're back. We'll apply this wash of Rawhide Brown. Very light and gentle. Working it down in between the letters. Said doing this without sealing it is a really big gamble. I could very easily remove all that foxhide brown that I just laid down on here. Go with this brush and get in between all the letters. that foxhide brown is not so bright. It's actually toned down quite a bit. So instead of being a bright orange brown tone, it is now toned down quite a lot to almost a neutral orange brown, not so bright, but a little bit more muted. And I'm going to give that a moment to dry up, air dry that with my airbrush real quick. Come back in with another color from Green Stuff World called Redwood Brown. We'll go over the top of that very, very lightly. It's almost going to be it's basically going to be colored water. Airbrush thinner, I should say. And this should tint it to a more reddish brown tone. You're probably wondering, what if the Vallejo chipping effects doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't, then I strip this thing back down when I come back on Monday and I start from scratch and try to get it right on take number 2. That's all you can hope for. Don't get it right the first time, go for it another time. It is only paint, it is not the end of the world. So one thing about this hobby, don't ever be afraid to fail, because you can start over if you have to. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. God knows over the past 3 decades I've made plenty of mistakes in this hobby, and I have had to start some kits all over again. It's the nature of the beast. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. Now we have a very muted red orange brown tone, and I think I might want to try one more wash. Just had it in my hands a few minutes ago. There it is. Color called Choco Brown, or Chocolate Brown. This will be an incredibly light wash as well. Am I trying to render a hyper-realistic wood grain? No, I'm not. I'm trying to dull down the foxhide brown where it has a natural wood look to it. I think this is going to be the color that does it altogether. It's starting to look really, really nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, the Choco Brown was the color needed. That looks really good. So now it's even more of a natural wood tone. You can actually see kind of a little bit of wood grain in there from all the washes being added. Adds to the overall look of it, which I really like. Go back in between the letters with that. Oof, screwed my brush bristles all up. Damn good brush too. I can't believe I just did that. I can reshape that. If not, that brush is shot. I had the brush bristles inside when I put this little cap on there. Apparently I didn't. So it bent some of them out. Yeah, it's a nice deep medium red brown tone. Really looks good. Now comes one part that I am hoping doesn't screw up all my lettering. I'm going to take this color called Scorched Wood and I'm going to airbrush around the edges of the sign very lightly. I'll paint along the sides, bring that up around the edges and go down the slight in between the board slats, and then see how this turned out. So far, looks like only the foxhide brown has gotten on the lettering, so that should be not a very big headache to remove that. Go. Bring my air pressure down again. Damn. definitely not wanting to cooperate tonight. Sorry if that's off camera. Turn a little more this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. That actually doesn't look too damn bad. I'm actually pleased with how that, giving it that nice, slightly maybe scorched wood effect. Ugh. Did not need that to spit on me. That doesn't look too damn bad. I kind of like that. There we go. Clear a little bit of clog out of my airbrush, but we're okay. Ooh, did not need that. Might add to the overall effect, who knows? Damn it. I think I'm just going to go with a scorched brown around the just her name. Because the rest will actually take care of itself on the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Actually doesn't look too damn bad. So there we have a slightly scorched look to the front of the nameplate. I'll come back in. Paint the edges. So there we have what I was aiming for on this nameplate. Looks really good. I kind of like it. Just trying to darken in between all the letters so that when I take that paint off, her name is really, really going to pop. See if I can fix that little mistake right here. Maybe not. All right. Clean up my airbrush and we'll come back and we'll see about removing the paint from those letters. Stick around. Alright. Moment of truth. Paint is dry, and now according to the directions on the chipping medium, I'll re-moisten the paint with water. It says with a hard brush, come back in. And chip away the paint you want to remove. Well, I will be absolutely dipped Ladies and gentlemen, it absolutely worked. It'll take a little bit of time to get that paint off of there, but all of that blue and green paint that we applied starting to show through, thanks to a wonderful product called Vallejo Chipping Medium. That looks absolutely fantastic. I could not be happier with the result. Wipe at that a little bit. And take that off the popsicle stick now. Wow, that's really going to stick out. That's why if you do something like this or you use this chipping medium, always seal your work. Because sealing your work can prevent you from having to start all over again from the ground up in case you do make a mistake. Just might be able to save it. Man, I'm thoroughly impressed. If you can just see that M stand out against that wood, this is what I was looking to accomplish. Just have to let the water soak into that paint and work at it bit by bit so that it softens up. I'm just using regular distilled water. And I need a few Q-tips. Looks like. Damn, it's got paint all over it. That is going to look really sharp when that's completely uncovered. Grab some of these Q-tips out of this box. Oh. Would help if I had the box turned right side up. Oh boy. Yep, I need a vacation. A few days up in Victorville, I think, is going to be it. Definitely get some much needed relaxation. Not worry about a damn thing. I'm going to continue to clean this brush out because it does gather paint in the bristles while you're chipping this stuff off, so you want to try and keep your brush as clean as you can. That's going to look freaking stellar. Many thanks to Vallejo for creating such a fantastic product. I am incredibly pleased with how that stuff works. So now we have the MI and Millicent uncovered. Looks absolutely amazing. one of these letters in her name to pop, and boy are they ever. Now we'll come in on the L. It does take a little bit of pressure, not very much. Get that stuff to chip off real easily. Go. Go back in. Wipe that down. Get any remnants of any brown off of there. Oh, this is going to look so beautiful. I'm really, really pleased with this. Last time I did anything like this was on the Mobius Models Bride of Frankenstein model kit, and hell of a guy by the name of Nick D'Angelo gave me tips on doing something similar to this, except without the chipping medium. He just suggested going over, I think I wound up using Tamiya paint thinner, which is essentially alcohol, and removed all the paint off the lettering that I had put down, and it came out really gorgeous. With this chipping effects, this really takes the prize. Go. Once that paint starts to loosen up, I think I wound up putting a full 2 coats of that chipping medium on here, so these letters were very well protected. I should not have any problem getting this stuff off. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth just yet. Very, very long way to go till this thing is done. In my luck, I wind up opening up my damn mouth and something goes wrong. I'm going to put this on pause and finish the rest of this up off camera. And once I'm done, we'll take a look at the final result. We'll be right back. Alright, we're back. As you can see from all the tools in front of me, it took a little bit of time to get the letters uncovered, but my faith in Vallejo chipping effects medium was very well founded. What was the end result? Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Absolutely beautiful nameplate for this bust. All the letters came out just absolutely perfect. They pop right off of that board and it looks amazing. I'm really happy with this. So I am going to seal this off and set this off to the side. I hope you guys learned something. If you get a chance to pick up the chipping effects to do stuff like this with, do it. It is so worth it. It takes a little bit of time to uncover the letters once you've done it, but the end result is what you see right in front of you. This thing is absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to attach it to this bust when this is finished. So stick around, we'll be back for part 2 of this video. It's going to run a little bit longer than I had anticipated because of the nameplate. We'll be painting the fossilized creature hand. We're doing washes, dry brushing, and even using a little bit of oils to detail this. But stick around, we'll be right back. That's coming up next. Alright folks, we're back. This is part 2 of this video of painting the nameplate, the fossilized creature hand, and Millicent's eyes. Part 2 is taking place about 4 days later. By the time I got the nameplate finished, I ran a lot later than I wanted to, and I had to be up early Friday morning to leave for Victorville to go celebrate some birthdays with my sister and her family. So when last we left, we finished off the Millicent Patrick nameplate. We'll move the bust out of the way, and now we're going to work on the fossilized creature hand. Now, I'd already base coated this in Army Painter Skeleton Bone. It reminds me a lot of the Freak Flex Bleach Bone Tan, which is why I decided to go with this, and I'm going to use Citadel's Agrax Earthshade as a for the initial wash. I was going to use oils, but I think I'm going to back off of that. Actually, let me change that up. I'm going to use MIG Productions Dark Wash first. This is an enamel wash. Goes on very easily, dries quite dark. And I'm going to wash this into the deepest parts of this hand. Let me find the right brush real quick. And I think we'll go with you. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. My weekend was fantastic. I was able to finally just relax and not worry about a whole lot. Couldn't wait to get back to this. Apologize for the delay in between parts of the video. I didn't expect that nameplate to take an hour and a half plus when I initially filmed it. And this is going to be a relatively quick process. I just want to get the deepest parts of this first, and then we'll go back over this with the Agrax Earthshade, which should darken it even more. And the Earthshade is a fairly nice reddish brown tone. I'll make this look even, make the a lot of the areas pop even more. I'll be filming some more on Thursday and Friday, and then whatever I don't get done, I won't be back again until after the 8th of October. I probably won't film for a few days after that because I'll probably be jet lagged like crazy. And it's already starting to dry down quite a bit. Let's zoom in on this a little bit more. I think I've had this bottle of dark wash for, oh Lord, probably about a good 6 or 7 years now. I don't use it a whole heck of a lot, and when I do, it just a little goes a long way. while I'm at this, let me be the first to say thank you to all the new folks who have subscribed recently. I'm glad to see a lot of people are taking an interest in the videos. I do my best to bring out the best, what the best of this hobby has to offer. A lot of new kits on the way. And hopefully I'll be able to keep doing this throughout the holiday season, although I have switched to a new building. That'll remain to be seen. Holiday season for me always gets crazy, so I have to wait and find out what happens this year. All right. Nice look to it so far. I just realized I ran a regular airbrush thinner and regular lacquer thinner, so I had to use my Grumteen oil just to clean this brush out. That gave me a scare I didn't need. So I'm going to go back in very lightly with the skeleton bone and kind of touch up around those edges real quick. Actually, that's not that bad. I'm going to leave that as is. And it washes just about completely dry. So now I'll come in with this Agrax Earthshade. And apply it all over. I definitely recommend these Citadel washes. They go on very smoothly, they dry fairly quick. They got a nice wide range of colors. Even though they were originally meant for gaming. I've used them a lot over the years with figure kits, and they work out quite well. Just going to gently wipe some of this away real quick. Yeah, it looks really good. Very nice aged appearance so far. The only thing about these Citadel paint pots is these lids have a tendency to want to snap back down while you're working on something, and it really stinks that you have to keep reopening them. So for a lot of them, except for this one, I've actually cut the hinges off the back so I can just take the top off and not worry about it. You can see it's settling into the cracks nicely all along the edges of the fingers. Looks really good. I just shake this up once again. And if I do come up with any hard edges on this wash, I'm not really going to worry about it, because once I start dry brushing the bleach going on here, it'll start to cover a lot of that up. And for those of you new to this, doing a wash like this, you want to wipe against the grain, so to speak. You want the washes left down into the cracks and all the detail, so that detail stands out in the end, which is exactly the look that I'm getting right now. It's starting to take on a very nice, heavily aged appearance. It darkens the skeleton bone quite well. And a little bit of this stuff does go a long way. Just one little spot right there. Now I could just leave it like that if I chose to, but I do want to get some really good highlights. Dry brushed in before I call it done. I decided to go against the oils just because I didn't want to have to deal with the drying time that I could be facing, which Oils take a while to dry. Those of you out there that have worked with oils, either painting on canvas or doing kits, you know that they do not dry quickly, and it's not meant to be a fast process. There are guys who, and ladies, I'm assuming, who paint their kits in oil paints, and it takes them quite a while to get those kits completed because oils take days to dry. Excuse me. I'll redo that right there. One thing about the Citadel washes, you don't want to let them sit for longer than maybe a second, because once they start to dry, they do kind of leave a really hard outline. Even though I'm going to be dry brushing this, I still like to avoid that if I can. So now we have a nice, heavily weathered, fossilized creature hand, really deep in the deepest shadows, and the Agrax Earthshade enhanced that even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed dry this with a blow dryer off camera, and we'll come back in with Bleach Bone from Army Painter, and we'll start dry brushing highlights. We'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Make sure I shake this up real well, because this is an airbrush paint. I have to be really, really cautious with how much I have on my brush. And to do this, I am going to use a set of makeup brushes to do the dry brushing with. I want to go on as light as humanly possible. I don't want to go on too thick and wind up streaking it. I am barely hitting this hand with these bristles. I can practically feel no resistance whatsoever. It doesn't take a whole lot, because these makeup brushes tend to hold quite a good amount of paint for as soft as they are, and you don't have to hit this very heavy at all. You'll see quite a difference in the washed areas and then the dry brushed areas. Much brighter. I think this is one of the first techniques that my dad did teach me. Very long time ago. Thanks, Pop. And a few people show me a few pointers about using a little bit of finesse to do this. Sometimes you can go in really heavy, but there are a lot of times where you need to go in incredibly light. And I'm starting to like that. Looks really good. It's a very nice, heavily distressed look. And as always, dry brushing takes a while to build up that color. So if you're not seeing it right off the bat, just let it build up with time and you'll get the effect that you're looking for. Oh. You see what I did there? Streak that finger right there a little bit. That means I didn't get all the paint off my brush like I should have. One second here. Apologize for that little interruption. My stepdaughter just let me know she had a ride home from work, so I don't have to worry about picking her up. clean this brush out. I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. Do your brush up to clean that out all the way. Going with a equally soft but a little bit finer brush to get the inside of that hand, since it's closed inwards. Might be a little bit more difficult to get in there the right way. I like the way the back side of that hand looks. Looks really, really good. Taking a little bit more effort with this one. This is slightly stiffer than the other one I was using. Still not doing it. Try one of my Garage Kits US dry brushes. This is a really good set of dry brushes if you don't have them. Jesse Garcia carries an incredible selection of Kolinsky dry brushes, round and flat. They work really, really well. There we go. And normally you'd want to use a thicker paint, not an airbrush paint, but this bleach bone they didn't have available in the regular brush paint where I bought this. But even airbrush ready paint can be used with a brush. You just got to be a lot more careful with it. we have is a very nicely aged, bleached, fossilized creature hand with just a little time and a little bit of effort. There's your end result. The shadows are nice and deep, and all the highlights. You can even see, still see the skeleton bone underneath the bleach bone where I dry brushed. Everything just sticks out really, really nice. So I'm happy with that, and I am going to seal that off when we come back. We'll be doing Millicent's eyes. Stick around. Alright, we're back, and now we're going to do the one part of this kit that may make a lot of people nervous, but if you get the right amount of practice in, you'll be able to do it quite well. There's a lot of guys out there that do eyes really beautifully. Doing eyes on a kit like this, you want to have a good reference of which way you want her eyes to face. Now, she's holding the creature's head in her left hand, so I'm assuming that she is looking downwards at it. So that's how I'm going to aim her eyes, is slightly downwards and a little bit to the right, so that she's looking at what she's painting, because she is holding a brush in her right hand working on this as she's looking at it. So in doing this, I'm going to look at this real quick and get an idea of where I want her eyes positioned. Okay, I think I've got it. Now, zooming in on this may be a little bit problematic, so I am going to do my best to give you guys a bird's eye view of this as best I can. Zoom that in all the way. Tripod's a little bit unsteady. Now for her eyes, I'm going to be painting her eyes brown, because I'm assuming that Millicent Patrick did have brown eyes. So I'm going to be starting with a very dark brown tone, and I've used Green Stuff World Scorched Wood with a drop of opaque black. And I'm going to go in, and because the opaque black that I used is an airbrush ready paint, it thins that scorched wood down quite well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, and only the upper 3/4 of her eyes are going to be seen, because I'm going to have them aiming downwards. So I'm going to draw a line straight down. Just like this. It looks kind of strange. I want to have that eye. And if I mess this up, I can remix my white gray color, go back over it and redo it. And this will give me roughly the center line of the eye to begin with, and then I'll block in the round parts of it as I go. So there we have the beginnings of the eye. Yeah, she looks like a cat. So now I'm going to go in outline just a little bit more. There we go. Try to round this out as best I can to the right size. Get a little bit off my brush. This is always the nerve-wracking part for me. Sorry if you guys aren't seeing that, I apologize. I may have botched that left eye a little bit. Increase the size of the right eye just a little. Looking at it from a side point of view, it looks like the eyes are just about right where I want them. Eyes can be very intimidating. I used to hate doing it, but I've never used the water slide decals that a lot of folks use. Just never wanted to be brutally honest. Get this other one filled in, we'll see how this looks. I think they're looking out more straight out and down than to the right, which is okay. As long as she's looking down at the creature's head, that's what counts. This right eye is a little bit smaller. Clean my brush out real quick. It's getting gummed up. One second, I'm going to put on my magnifiers. I have a little bit better perspective. It looks, yep, they're aimed downwards, but I want to make sure that I get, I'm kind of a, some would say perfectionist, but I want to make sure that I have the eyes as rounded as I can possibly get. So I started using magnifiers to do eyes in quarter scale, 6 scale, and 1/8 scale. Magnification does help out a lot. So now we'll go back in. I need to thin this down just a little bit. I know I lost my mind. I've lost my airburst thinner. Wonderful. Couple of drops. I'm getting very, very fine line brushes. One of the best things you can do. This is a 3.0 spotter that I picked up at Hobby Lobby last week. I love using these things for eyes. It's just a matter of working the eye until you have it right where you want it. So now we have, I'm going to test fit the hand back in. So now we have a set of eyes that are looking slightly downwards. They're about as centered as I can get them. So when you look at it from the side, her eyes are actually aiming down towards the creature's head. One of the best ways, I know I tried to aim her eyes to the right. One of the best ways as far as lining up the center of the eye if you're going for a straight on look, is that little line that I drew. Is you want to try to aim that line from the corner of the mouth upwards. Once you get it from the corner of the mouth upwards, you have pretty much the center where the eye line is going to be. I've watched a lot of guys online, one guy in particular, ground affected, and a few others that have done, that do eyes really, really well. Showed that exact same technique of drawing the center line from the corners of the mouth up, and even some artists do the exact same thing, doing it two-dimensionally. As they will go in, and from the corner of the mouth up is what they use for the center line of the eye. I did that with the Chris Reeve bust and the McCready, and it worked out beautifully. Well, McCready, I had his eyes looking slightly to the left, but if you kind of calculate where the center line of the eye is going to be from the corner of the mouth, even if it's looking off to the side, you can pretty much line everything up perfectly. Excuse me. Yeah, she does look a little bit, I want to do her eyes slightly larger. Yeah. Go back in and make her eyes slightly bigger. Not very much. Looking at her from this angle with that smile, she almost looks insane. Much as I hate to say that. I just did not want to have her looking like she's posing for a photo. I want this to look as if she's actually painting the creature and looking at the creature's head as she's working on it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Wanting to add a little bit of motion and even more life in your work is very well worth the end reward. Okay, that's a lot better. We can make it even better than that. And also keep in mind that eyes that are sculpted by hand are not going to be perfectly symmetrical every time. It's just the way that it works, unfortunately, that a sculptor is not going to nail perfect eyes every time, unless he's using doing eyes digitally. He can just, hit a button and, copy, do a mirror image from one side to the other. A traditional hand-sculpted kit the eyes are not going to be perfectly symmetrical in any way, shape, or form. Her right eye and her left eye are sculpted very differently, so I have to compensate for that. It's just the way that it is. Christopher Reeve's eyes were not sculpted symmetrically. They were as good as Jeff could get them. He did a fantastic job. McCrady's eyes were the same way. They were just a little off, but not by much. You just have to adjust for the way the sculpt is. I think her eyes look really, really good. Okay, so now that we have the darkest part of the eye, I'm going to use a slightly lighter shade. I'm going to use this chocolate brown. I won't need very much of this. So a single drop is all I'm going to need. I'm going to go in and outline as close to the edge of the eye as I can possibly get. Hard for me to see, so I'm going to use a little this might be for naught, but try a single drop of this bleach bone to lighten that up. We'll see what happens with that color. Probably not going to look very good, I will admit. Yeah, not what I was hoping for. Lighten it up way too much. Brown eyes are some of the hardest ones to get right. Going too dark, you can lose a lot of detail. That might be good enough. This is a lot of patience. Like I said, doing eyes does not come quick and it does not come easy. Okay, that looks all right. Keep cleaning my brush out because the paint starts gumming up. One drop of thinner in there. There we go. Quick mix. So that's good. We'll start in on the right eye. Yep, sounds like the street racers are out again. The nice thing about being at my sister's house, we didn't have to listen to that every single night. But then again, we were laughing, drinking, and just having a damn good time. Make sure you guys can see this. It's kind of hard for me to paint her and keep her in camera. I know her eyelashes look kind of wacky on her right eye. The lower eyelid was sculpted much differently than the right eyelid was sculpted much different than the left, so I had to kind of compensate for that as best I could. But thus far, I am really, really pleased with how she's turning out. Rotate her upside down real quick. Trying to get perfectly round eyes on kits like this it's a real pain in the ass to do. My eyes may not be perfectly round, but they're not going to be so oddly shaped that it'll be noticeable on first glance. So now we have a medium brown tone for the eye. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start painting a light source. And by that I mean I'm going to paint a lighter shade of brown toward the top of the eye to show that she is in fact looking down. It's going to aid in the illusion that her eyes are actually aimed downwards. But I'm going to seal this off, and when we come back we'll start in on the next highlight tone in her eyes, which will be a much lighter shade of brown. And I'm liking the way she's turning out. Really, really beautiful. So let me seal her off. We'll be right back. All right. Excuse me. We're back. Now we're going to go in with the much lighter color brown. I mixed in Green Stuff World Quicksand Brown in with the chocolate brown and ivory, or excuse me, bleach bone mix that we had. And I'm going to go up here across the top of the eye. Get to lighten that up just a little bit more. There we go. That's a lot better. Usually I have a plan in mind when I do eyes, but sometimes you gotta go with things on the fly just to make them work. So let me come back in again. It's a little bit difficult to see. Building it up very slowly. Same to the right eye. So now we have a slightly lighter shade of brown. Let me stand up so I can make sure I show you this. Now there's a lighter shade of brown at the top of the eye, so that now you can actually see that there is a highlight when the light hits it. So hit that left eye one more time, as that highlight looks a little too dark still. Usually by now I'm cursing up a storm trying to get this right. But I don't want YouTube giving me a whole lot of hell grief and everything else for foul language. If they even do that, I don't know. Pause, let my eyes refocus. We'll be right back. All right. Now comes the moment I actually dread a little bit, is putting that black dot in the middle of the eye. So I've already got some Vallejo black. I'm going to thin this down even more. Just a little bit. Oh boy, that was way too much. Yeah, way too much. See something here. So come back in with our spotter. I don't want to make the iris of the eye really small. I don't want to go too big either. A little touch up there. Make sure I keep my hands from shaking while I'm doing this. That's better. I'm going to readjust my light source. That one side just a little bit. Checking to make sure that I have it as centered as best as I can get, so she's still looking downwards. Work out just right. Pull back and take a look at this real quick. Oh, God, I can't even see. God, maybe I am going blind. Nope, we're good. So now we have the black dots in place. I'm going to seal this off. Now I'm not going to gloss the eyes until pretty much dead last, because I'm still using a lot of flat lacquer on her. So any glossy bits that need to be done will be done at the very end. So I'm going to seal this off. Be right back. Alright, one last step on these eyes is going to be the highlight dots. And keeping in mind the fact that she's looking down, that highlight dots are going to be at the uppermost part of the eye. I'm going to have them aimed slightly off to the left. Make sure you guys can see this. For the exact same spot on the right eye. A little bit bigger than I wanted. I have to erase that and start all over. It's just paint. We're all good. Actually, I might be able to adapt that a little bit better. Slightly oblong, so I'll do the same on this one. Sorry, I keep taking that off camera. So now if I put the creature head on her left arm, it should give me a really good illusion that she's looking down and slightly to the right. Oh yeah. That works really, really well. Well, the only bad part is once I start glossing these eyes over, it's going to damn near kill the overall effect. Let me undo those. I'll try and reposition them. I'm looking at them now and they're not quite copacetic. That could have been a mess. So if you make a mistake, seal your work off. You don't have to worry about redoing it from the ground up all over again. And Krylon mat is fairly durable. So Vallejo airbrush thinner won't eat through it if used lightly enough. Let's go for try number 2. Much better. Yeah, way better. And the highlight dot. Yeah, my workbench is a mess. What else is new? So now we have some very brown eyes with highlights and highlight dots at a slight angle. So when with the creature placed in her hand, gives off that beautiful illusion that she is actually looking down at the head that she is working on. From the front and from the right hand side. Hope this helps people learn how to paint eyes. Give them a little bit more confidence. Just keep persisting at it. and all things will work out in the end. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into this series of work in progress videos. Some of them ran rather long, and I do apologize for that. But some things just cannot be helped. Looks really, really good. I'm very happy with how this is turning out. So this is work in progress part 5. Painting the nameplate, the fossilized hand, and Millicent's eyes. This has been the Figure Kit Garage. Everybody stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Coming up next, we paint the coat. Build a kit.